Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. In this podcast, host Lori and me will share a few book recommendations on what you should read next. If you have a passion for books, then join us for this fun bookish episode. Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. I am so happy to have you back. Today we have a fun solo show for you. I'm going to share a little bit of what's going on this summer, what to expect from the show, and some fun book recommendations. So the first things first, if you notice, there's less episodes being released every week. So after the pandemic, after being stuck at home for so many months, like 9,000 months, I realized I was like, holy crap, I want to see Chicago. I want to experience live. And so that meant I needed to spend less time editing, producing the podcast, interviewing people, and more time getting out of the house. Instead of releasing like 5 to 6 episodes because I was interviewing too many authors, I decided to release them 2 a week. And so those are the episodes that are going to be released. I'm almost done with batch recording for most of the episodes. And so you'll get new episodes every week all the way to November. And then we may take a break. We may not take a break. I don't know. It's too far away. But I'll keep you posted if we decide to take a break. So that's why the episodes have decreased in number, but there's plenty in the backlist. So if you're ever looking for a new episode to listen, there's like 300 something episodes for you to touch base. There were like 200 or so episodes were released in this past year. So there's enough in the backlist for you to try. So that's really exciting. So a few things are happening. So there's a life change that's happening. Due to tax reasons, I have to move. So I'm moving to Chicago after a year and a half being in the city. Most of the time I've been inside in the pandemic, staying indoors, staying safe. But I got vaccinated. I've been actually going to outdoor setting, going to outdoor coffee shops and sitting around and writing and editing and doing the fun stuff. So it's been kind of fun discovering Chicago, but I'm kind of sad. It's a great place to come. It's a great place to visit. Come in the summer, come in spring or fall. Don't come in the winter. Well, let me tell you, the winters are crazy. It is cold. It is windy. It is snowy. It is definitely not a fun place to be. I think for most of the month of February, we had negative 20 for 3 weeks. And it was snowing. We had 9 inches of snow, 9 inches of snow, 9 inches of snow. It snowed for 10 days straight. It was not fun. But spring, summer, and fall are beautiful. So come to those times. And I may do a slow episode to tell you all about Chicago if you want. So I am moving, and I'm excited for the move. It is exciting. It is a different change. There's stuff I'm moving closer to my family, which is exciting. But it's definitely, it's a life change. It's I haven't settled down. I barely had time to settle down in Chicago. And then lo and behold, I'm okay, I'm just going to up and move. So that's happening. I'll tell you when it's happening in the fall. I'll let you know where I'm moving and all the fun stuff there. Not right now, but that's happening. So that's been fun. So this summer, one thing I realized is that I struggle with reading. I have a reading slump that's been going on for 2021. I actually started books. I ended up finishing books. I ended up leaving books behind. I started 10 to 15 books and I stopped reading them, and I don't know, I just there's a part of me that longs to be 2016, 2017 before I was in the podcasting world, before I was in bookstore world, before I was trying to figure out what the tastemakers were reading, and I was just reading for pleasure, and I was reading a book a day, and it was great. But I'm no longer in that place. And so I have to come to terms that I'm no longer in that place. I'm no longer in the place of I actually don't have books to read, so I actually will have to. I have hundreds of books available for me to read based on all the different services that I actually participate. And so it is definitely an interesting place to be where I have too many choices and I'm not finishing anything. So funny enough, I did a hypnosis because my reading life is important in my life. And so I did a hypnosis and it was just finish one book. And I was okay. And it worked for a few months and then it stopped working. And so I kind of have to go back to self-hypnotize myself and just be just finish a book, just finish a book, just finish a book. I actually want to note that I don't DNF books, and that's just a personal choice. I respect if you DNF the books, that's totally fine. I don't, because I've had this experience happen like at least 3 times this year, where I DNF'd a book last year. I was like not in the mood. I was like, oh, it's annoying. I don't like it, blah, blah. And then I go back to it months later and I finish the book, and then it turns out to be 5 stars. And it has happened. It happened recently. It happened like a few times. And so I don't trust myself to DNF a book. That's just like my choice. So that's where I am. So one thing I've been doing is I'm reading some other genres, because I don't know if traditional published romans are just hitting the mark or they're not hitting the mark. I don't know if I don't have the patience to look through indies and trying to figure out what I like for indies anymore. Like, do I like dark romance? Do I like forbidden? Do I like some rom-coms? Do I like some closed door? Do I like something else? And so I don't have the patience to just cover new books right now. So I've been asking my trusted friends from other genres to tell me what should I read. And so I've been reading thrillers right now. So I read a couple Alice Feeney's books, which I actually like. I read Greer Hendricks and Sarah Peckinham book. I read A Liv Constantine. So I've been reading thrillers from authors that I've read before, that I trust, that I like their books. And so that's been comforting. It's been nice. And so that's been fun. So I actually started Crescent City a while ago, and I like it. It's a very police procedural, but I will tell you, it's more police procedural in the fantasy world than anything else. I like it, but it's long. It's like, I don't know, it's like 1,000 pages long or 800 pages long. It's really long. So even if I try to read it, I can't seem to make it end on it. Like, it's not as engaging as a Court of Mist and Fury or Court of Thorns and Roses. It's not as quick and as fast-paced as those books, so I think that's why it feels like a drag. So, I don't know. I bought it because it was on sale, so I should finish it off soon. So, those are books that I'm reading, and that's what's happening. So, in terms of the podcast and what to expect, I think what I may just do is I miss having fun with the show. I miss talking to you, talking about books, and telling you all about it. And so what if I actually release like solo episodes that I do once a week or every other week, and I tell you about the books that I'm reading, or books that I create, listicles that I created, or things that I'm like interested, or themes that I'm noticing. And maybe I'll tell you about Chicago and all the fun stuff that I realized that I did in this past year. I think that can make me fun. So there will be one thing that I think I want to implement is to do a monthly reading wrap up. I know some other podcasts do them, and I used to do them, but they were like, I don't know. I got caught up in the author interviews and every other interview, and I was like, it's too much. So, but I think reading wrap up seems like a fun thing to do. And instead of rating the books, I'm just going to tell you if you should pick it or should skip it. And so I try to pick books that I like the most, so there might be the majority you can pick in. But if there's any ones that are like ultra problematic, or you're like, oh my gosh, this is like a 1-star read for me, but it might be a 5-star read for you. We'll tell you all about it. So I think the monthly reading wrap-ups are going to be part of the cadence, and they might not be long monthly reading wrap-ups because I'm not reading that many books. So they might be like, 5 bucks or 10 bucks or 15 bucks. I don't know. It depends on how much my reading goes. And it's just part of the process. So I think monthly reading wrap-ups are going to be part of it. I want to say something about that part of it, and that reading is not a competition. I think I have to come to terms with that myself, is that reading is not a competition. Just because I only read like 1 book a week doesn't make me a bad reader. Just because I read 1 book a month, it doesn't make me a bad reader. Or 1 book a year, it doesn't make me a bad reader. It's how I choose to spend my time, and that's just like a choice. It's not like a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just like it's nothing. It's just this. So coming to terms right now is like I'm okay not finishing books in 1 day. And that's just like coming to terms with it after doing that for so long. It is just part of the process. So that's what's going on. So I want to have a call to action for you, because I think it'll be fun to connect with the community. So as a call to action, I want you to pick 1 episode that you loved, whether it's your favorite author or book recommendation or something you discover a book that you wanted to read and you were like, it's a 5-star read for me, and share that episode on your Instagram stories and tag me at Watch Me Next Pod. And I'll tag you back and I'll share it with my audience. I think it'll be fun to get to know like which are your favorite episodes, because we get them on downloads, but I don't know from you like which ones you love, which ones are made a difference. So tell us all about them. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day. If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. For book recommendations, author interview archives, and other fun book resources and tips, please visit watchrenextblog.com. The Watch Read Next podcast is part of the Frolic Network. To discover new shows to listen and love, please visit frolic.media/podcast. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.